If you're a man and you want to buy an elegant Italian SUV, you buy the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. If you're a man, you buy the Quadrifoglio version, which is the proper one to have. Welcome to Driven Plus, and it's getting a bit spooky today as I review the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio. The Stelvio was Alfa's first attempt at making an SUV, and the Quadrifoglio was Alfa's first performance SUV. Now, when these first came out in 2017, I think these were the best looking SUV on the market. Fast forward 6 years and they are still the best looking SUV on the market. However, though, they're quite expensive, starting at £80,000, which is a lot of money. But I suppose you're paying for elegance and Italian flair. Now, design. When you put the normal Stelvio version against the Quadrifoglio version, I think now you can appreciate how good looking this version is. Starting with the Scudetta. Different design vents is the first time I've ever realised that. But going on to the bumpers, the Quadrifoglio version are more aggressive, obviously. The lights are the same. However, this has been smoked aftermarket. I think this looks 10 times better. And the bonnet. Comparing the two together, the Quadrifoglio version has bonnet vents. Now, as we have the cars side on, as you can see, there are a few visual differences. 19-inch on the normal Stelvio and 20-inch on the quad. And the quad sits lower than standard Stelvio. Now, as we come to the braking system, massive upgrade from standard. This has the optional extra carbon ceramic discs, which have 6 pots on the front and 4 pots on the rear. And the 4 pots on the rear are the exactly same as the 4 pots on the front on here. How Alfa have saved some money there. And the wheel arches have been colour coded with the body, and you also get the Quadrifoglio badge. And as we come to the rear, I love the way the quad sits. PHAT, fat. Now, as we come onto the rear, as you can see again, there are a lot of visual differences. Quad tailpipes on the quad, but I've got to say, what are those tailpipes there? I don't get it. Anyway, let's hear this engine. Come on. Do us a favour, mate. Put your seatbelt on and try it again. Go on. Lovely. Let's go and see that engine now. Now let's open the bonnet and see that beautiful carbon bonnet which you get on the Giulia. Oh. Well, it's not carbon. There's a cost-cutting exercise. Anyway, here sits that Ferrari-derived F154 engine, 2.9 litre V6. 500 horsepower and 600 newton meters of torque, and this will have a top speed of 177 miles per hour. That's quite quick for an SUV. Now, inside of the Stelvio, it's very similar to the Giulia that I reviewed. Now, if you want to watch my review on there, click up on the pop-up banner. But yeah, it's a lovely place to be. There's a lot of carbon fibre going on, and I have to mention these Sparco carbon back seats. £3,000 option. And one thing I love about the interior is this steering wheel. I've got to say, it's such a lovely steering wheel to look at. But one little niggle for me is the size of the reversing camera. It is a little too small. Right, let's see what it'll do 0 to 60. Right, it's now time to launch the Alfa Stelvio Quadrifoglio. Now, this does not have launch control as standard, so I'm going to have to brake boost it. Alfa state 3.8 seconds. Let's see how much limoncello they had that night. So let's build up the boost. I'm in race mode, stability off. There we go, wow. That hooked up pretty nicely. And there we are, 4.02. It looks like the Italians did have too much limoncello that night, but it's not far off. So I'll be pretty happy with that, given the size and weight of this thing. There we are, not bad. On to the road test. On the roads, the Stelvio sits really nice. That's thanks to its awesome suspension setup. That's all Stelvio Quadrifoglios gets adaptive suspension as standard. And you can play around with this twisty knob down here for all different driving modes. Now, as we put the car into D, which is dynamic mode, this makes the engine and brakes more responsive, quicker gear changes, and a deeper exhaust note. Now as we come from D to N, which stands for natural mode, now this mode emphasises comfort and refinement, so really the mode you want to be in for daily driving. And as we come from N to A, which is advanced efficiency, not really going to explain what this mode does, boring. And let's go into the main mode, race mode. You have to hold and twist the knob left so you engage race. Down here this little knob turns red and the screen goes yellow. And this is where you can fully experience the Alfa Stelvio Quadrifoglio V6 in all its glory. The valves fully open up, which I think is a flaw because you can only really experience this car's noise with the stability settings fully off. And yeah, unless you really want to die or you want to experience a near-death experience, that's when you can hear that V6. Now the gearbox is a ZF8 torque converter. It responds really well to the type of driving you want to give it. And you can change gears on the steering paddles mounted to the column. Yeah, so normally I'm not really a big fan of column mounting paddles. However, these make sense because they're massive and the steering, well, the turning circle isn't that big. So realistically, your hands are there anyway. So yeah, it makes sense. Putting this car through some pressure in the corners, I'm really impressed with the feedback it's given me. I have to say, for an SUV, this thing is so playful. And this thing is quite light for an SUV as well, 1.8 tonne. So how have they done that? Well, Alfa have used aluminium with its body parts, and like the Giulia, they've also used a carbon fibre prop shaft. Now the Stelvio's handling characteristics didn't go unnoticed. It held the Nürburgring record for the fastest SUV to ever lap it, 7 minutes 51. And the name Stelvio came from obviously the world famous Stelvio Pass because it had 48 corners. And that's to resemble the perfect 50-50 weight distribution of this car. So how fast is it? Is it push you in the seat back? Oh, it's super fast for an SUV. My God. And I love the way the engine sounds and how crisp those gear changes are. And this thing doesn't mess about when you want to brake as well. Those carbon ceramic brakes, oh, they're really sharp. My God, you would definitely outbrake pretty much everything. These brakes have got to be the best I've ever experienced, being serious. Better than my M4CS. However though, you really can tame the beast down when you go into N mode, natural mode. This is the mode you want to be in when you're daily driving. I will say though, the suspension is a little harsh, but it's an Alfa badge with 500 brake horsepower. What can you possibly expect? The driving position is pretty much perfect. You don't sit too high and the view is just perfect. Obviously with it being an SUV, you do sit higher than most of the cars on the road, which helps for overtaking. Well, here's my verdict. Would I buy one over a Macan GTS? Although I love Porsche, I think I would, because you see the Macans pretty much everywhere. And the Stelvio as well, they're a rarer car, and especially in this form, the Quadrifoglio. And I think it's a better looking car anyway. I'd like to thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed our video. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
This is a Darren beat.